And good morning, everybody. Welcome. Hot Takes, Goodman and Haertl. How was the weekend, Bruce?
It was good, long, but good, productive. A lot of things going on that fit right into our wheelhouse this morning. So anxious to get after it. But how about you?
Excellent. Spent some time with friends, watched a little bit of sports, and so on and so forth. It was certainly a busy day on Saturday, for sure. Today, it's going to be a busy night if you're planning on watching the Avalanche. And if you do, and you're looking to go out with friends, highly recommend you go to the Sportsbook Bar and Grill. Place is going to be packed. I would get there early. They have two great locations, one in the DTC. The other one is in Highlands Ranch. That is my local spot. Outstanding food, great drink specials. What do I mean by outstanding food? You want burgers? 12 different burgers to choose from. Great wings. Too many sauces to count. Like cheese curds, got that for you. Bruce, they got the Brussels sprouts for you as well. But it's just a really comfortable environment. The one thing that I love about that place is the owners are sports fans, major sports fans. Judson, Jeremy, and John. And when you go to a sports bar, you know, you want it to be owned by people who understand sports bars, love sports, not some big corporate, company that, they make it look like a sports bar, but it doesn't really feel like one. Sportsbook Bar and Grill, you can find them in the DTC. You can also find them in Highlands Ranch and coming soon to Parker. Time now for the lead.
The lead is presented by Sasquatch Casino, a family-owned casino that treats you like family.
What was the biggest local story on Saturday, with the emphasis on local? Nuggets blowing a 22-point fourth quarter lead, only to have Jokic and Gordon win on a remarkable last-second alley-oop at the buzzer. Shedeur Sanders falling to the fifth round of the draft, or Gabe Landeskog scoring a goal in the Avs blowout win over the Stars. Now, Sanders was the biggest national story, but what about locally? And you could pick Sanders as well if you would like.
I'm so tired of Shedeur Sanders that if I ever have to talk about it again, it'll be too soon, understanding that I'll have to talk about it again. So we go there. To me, it was Gabe Landeskog because there was a little bit of magic in it. It's fair. There's some fairy tale in it. There's some unbelievability in a story that, even though guys like you and I, who with us have collectively close to 70 years of doing this kind of thing between the two of us, this is a story that I've never seen before, never heard before, never been a part of before. It moved me. When he scored that goal to make it 3-0, it had an emotional impact on me. So just from a standpoint of how it affected me in a tactile, real way, it would be Gabe Landeskog. Not to say that the way that the Nuggets won was seismic, surprising, all of the things that go along with it. And certainly the Shedeur Sanders story had legs, national legs, all weekend long. And I think probably will continue to now as they head into mini camps and things of that nature. That will continue to be a big story. So take your pick. But for me, it would be Landeskog for the things that I pointed out.
You can argue certainly for all three.
Yep.
Just for fun, I'll go with the Nuggets because of the way the game ended. I'll be honest. We were having people over for the Avs game, and the Nuggets are up by 22, and I'm doing a lot of cooking. I'm like, man, they're up by 22. I don't really need to pay attention to this.
Yeah.
And then suddenly, they start chipping away like, somebody with an axe, next to a red oak. And then before you know it, we got a game here, and I have stuff in the oven. I have other stuff that I'm prepping. And I said to my wife, Mandy, I need to step away from the kitchen for a minute because this could go the wrong way. And with the way the game ended, which was controversial, and some will say still controversial, of course, Jokic being involved, a ridiculous pass. Is that what it was? Was it a pass? The shot? I think you'll get the truth more freely than probably Matt Holliday. Did he touch home plate? But either way, I don't think anyone's truly going to tell the truth on that. As for Shedeur Sanders, to put this into perspective, my wife, Mandy, she will be the first to tell you that she is not a sports fan, doesn't really know much about sports. When she came over on Friday before we went out for dinner, I was sharing some things with her about Shedeur Sanders. I showed her a clip from the show. She kind of understood it, kind of really didn't. We go out for dinner that night. We went to Shanahan's, is where we went. We're sitting at the bar. We met a bunch of people there, and then we wound up going someplace else. That's all everybody was talking about.
Right.
Shedeur Sanders. Why is he slipping in the draft? You know, what's his problem? Is he talented? That was a huge talker. That had huge legs. But for our local teams here, the way the Nuggets game finished, Landeskog getting that goal, I'll be biased. I'm going to take those two teams. Yeah. And to your point, Colorado has a chance to be a very good football team this year. I'm exhausted talking about Shedeur Sanders. He is very similar to Tim Tebow when it comes to the circus, and he's all yours. He's absolutely all yours, Cleveland. Enjoy him. Not to say he's a bad guy, but I'm tired of talking about him. Let's get into the Broncos in the draft. CBS Sports, ESPN, and NFL.com, along with many others, did post-draft grades. When you combine all three, it comes out to a B for the Broncos. How would you evaluate the Broncos draft? And, you know, overall, would you give them a B? And to me, the most common theme of this draft was, when it was over, RJ Harvey, Pat Bryant, Harvey running back, Bryant wide receiver, were not the most highly rated available players at their positions. That's the one takeaway I'm getting out of this draft from most.
Well, they changed the pecking order with the pick of Barron in the first round. So that was the kind of change up that was thrown, and it changed the way that the dominoes fell for the rest of the draft. They also traded back twice in the second round before they centered in on RJ Henry. I think they get two rotational starters, because I think Barron and Henry will both be rotational starters, situational starters. I think that Henry probably will be a starter, period, but he will be in the midst of a rotation in the backfield that will include Audric Estime most prominently. But I think that, and then you add Crenshaw, the punter, to it. Maybe they get 2.5 starters out of this draft. Jones, the kid out of LSU, is a little further ahead, certainly, than Robinson, than the projects that they had towards the end of the draft. But I think that they made themselves a moderately better football team. But I'm going to say this, Eric, and I say moderately, but I'm giving them credit for knowing what they do, what they're doing, and the fact that they have a history of being good at this together. But here's my deal, and I think it's a very clear-cut, simple thing. They've got to hit on RJ Henry, period. He's got to be good because, and look, it didn't have to be their theme going into the draft. For the rest of us, it was putting pieces around Bo Nix. But they didn't disagree in all of the times that they talked about the importance of adding a running back. Now the question is, since they've added a running back, is it the right running back? It's not a 3-down back. It is a guy that hasn't been used much in the passing game in his time at Central Florida. It's a young man who was a quarterback at Virginia to start his college career before he went to UCF and became a running back. He's smaller in stature, but strong, low center of gravity. He's got explosiveness, great speed at 4.4, really good vision. You can see that in the way you can see that in his film. It's not hard to see, but they got to hit on him. If they hit on him, and it's an if they hit on him, this becomes a much more successful draft, because in Barron, they get a player that is definitely going to fit into their defensive scheme and is a guy that's going to play for them immediately.
So I think the question is, and I think you did touch on it, how much better are the Broncos offensively after the draft? We know that they're better defensively. Sean Payton seems to be the type of guy where he really doesn't give a shit what anybody else thinks of his draft.
No.
He is the type of guy that picks players who fit his system. Generally speaking, I think, listen, most teams do. Yeah. But, and I don't want to say that Sean Payton's picks come with controversy, but I think there are some eye rolls when he does make picks at times, like Bo Nix last year. Can't believe he was taken at 12. The one thing that gives me hope about Henry, and I called him Harvey, the one thing about Henry is this. Sean Payton has a pretty good history of picking running backs in the first 2 days. And that's what I'm going to hang my hat on. Reggie Bush, second, he was a draft pick for Sean Payton. Mark Ingram, Alvin Kamara. Right. All of these guys were picked day 1, day 2. So for me, I just look at the history and say, you know what? You kind of have to trust them, even though many would say there were better running backs, better than Henry before Henry was taken.
Yes. And I would agree. I think, and it's Harvey. You had it right the first time. RJ Harvey.
So you're calling him Harvey. I called him Harvey. You called him Henry. I corrected myself because of what you said. Now you're correcting yourself with what.
Well, it's RJ Harvey. If I said anything wrong, then I apologize.
Oh, way to make me look like an ass.
Let's just get the second round pick.
Now I'm doubting myself.
No, you're good.
It's going to be Bo Picks, and then I'm going to start calling him Picks because you're calling him Picks, and I know it's Knicks. I need to help myself and realize that you have very little credibility. God.
Well, I feel pretty good about my credibility, but that's okay. You're absolutely right. You have to give George and Sean Payton both their due. Yeah. I mean, if you're looking for evidence, plain and simple evidence, all you have to do is look at the drafts that have preceded this one for George Payton and the number of players still on roster or playing in the NFL and the way that the Broncos are trending. I think, look, we could debate how much of a contender they are, but they were in the playoffs last year for the first time in 9 years. So they are trending the right way. They're trending the right way with 21 draft picks that George Payton helped to make that are still on the roster. 2 other guys are elsewhere now, but they're still in the league. So you've got to give credit where it's due. You just talked about Sean Payton. That's credit. When you make picks like that have worked, then you have to tip your hat to the guy and figure that he's going to make picks that are going to be beneficial for the team. After all, he's trying to win football games. He's trying to build a winning roster. So, yeah, I would say that, I mean, grades to me mean absolutely nothing because to your point, and you're absolutely right, Sean Payton doesn't care about what anyone else says, and why would he? It's the picks that they make. It's not what other people think they should be doing. Why would they care about that? And they don't. So we'll see how it goes. But a B sounds like, if we're talking in generalities, that sounds about right. I mean, I think that sounds about right. I think they get 2 starters out of it. And if this kid Jeremy Crenshaw can kick.
I like him.
I do too. I mean,
I don't like this pick. This might be my favorite pick of the draft.
Yeah, I love it when you take a punter And the initial reaction is always you're taking a punter
Right.
or you're taking a kicker. But then when you start to look into it and you start to see 47 yards a kick at sea level,
Yes.
and when you start to see his directional ability, his ability inside the 20, inside the 10, things of that nature, it starts to click for you a little bit. And it's like, okay, great. Because field position is so important in the NFL, and kickers tend not to get the kind of credit that they deserve. We usually only hear about them when they do something poor and miss a kick or one's off the side of their foot. But yeah, I would agree with you. This could be a very good pick. So, and it's part of the reason they got to be. But RJ Harvey, for me, is the absolute key that you've got to hit on. He has to be good right out of Jump Street for this draft to have a chance to be successful. And that's not taking anything away from Jahdae Barron. He's going to be a guy from the get-go. He's going to be one of those 4 guys in that rotation. He's going to be in the nickel. He's going to be doing all kinds of things. Harvey is the guy because it's the biggest position of need.
Anything excites you about Pat Bryant?
After
me like another guy that looks like everybody else.
Yeah, and a guy that doesn't run well. He's a 4.6 guy, and in the world of the NFL, that's not great straight line speed.
Right.
But he is supposed to be, and what I watched on Saturday confirms this. He's got sure hands. He dropped 1 pass all season, 1 pass. He's very good in the air as a competitive player in the air against defensive players. Very good high pointing the ball. Very competitive, hard worker. Fits very much the mold of the room that they have, minus the speed, but with the attributes that he brings. To me, my term for him over the weekend was, he's a guy that comes in. He's an intriguing guy, but we'll just have to wait and see. He's in a crowded room, and so it's going to be hard to get reps. It'll be incumbent upon him to kind of throw elbows and crowd his way into a room that I think is fairly well set at this point.
Give me your final thoughts on this whole Shedeur Sanders free falling in the draft, and then hopefully we never talk about it again, of course, until he makes his first start. Then we're going to be talking about it.
Well, you covered it extremely well on Friday, and I think it was Wednesday. I made a very simple statement about this will be, as things unfold, the ultimate reflection, the truthful reflection of what the NFL thinks of Shedeur Sanders.
Okay.
And I think we got a pretty honest assessment for where the NFL was, probably still is, with Shedeur Sanders. So interpret that any way that you wish, but the NFL is all about winning. It's not about the show that comes with it. You've got to be able to be part of the reason that a team is going to win. What do you bring to the table to these guys who all make as much or more money than you're making, who are far more accomplished already because they've played in the NFL than you've ever been? What do you bring to the table to help them win? And all I would say now, in the aftermath of all of this, some of which I actually felt sorry for the player, I really did. But all I would say is take the noise, put it away, put your head down, start concentrating, and go to flipping work. Go to work with no fanfare, no anything. Go to work and start putting yourself in a position to be an NFL quarterback.
I'll leave you with 2 thoughts, having very little to do with Shedeur Sanders, but the team he was drafted to. But I will start with Sanders. There was a video that was out there. I believe it was on Thursday. It actually might have been on Friday. It was one of the two. It certainly was not Saturday. Right. Where Shedeur Sanders was clowning Joe Flacco. Clowning him on video with his dad. Like when the Browns passed him up saying they got Joe Flacco. Even Dion said he's a pretty good quarterback. But it was Shedeur clowning the Browns like, how could they not take me? They have Joe Flacco.
Right.
That's going to go over real well in the locker room for a guy in Joe Flacco who has no interest in helping any rookie quarterback. That's for starters. Number two, the Browns took two quarterbacks in the first round, took two quarterbacks in the draft and two running backs in the draft.
Yeah.
The last time I can remember a team taking two quarterbacks in the draft was when Mike Shanahan was with Washington, because Daniel Snyder wanted RG3 and Mike Shanahan didn't, so he decided to draft Kirk Cousins.
Yeah.
Washington with Snyder is a dysfunctional franchise. One reason why, for many reasons, Daniel Snyder is no longer there. Now you have the Browns, who are as dysfunctional as the day is long. And then you have a coach who is on the hot seat, who, by the way, wants zero input from any quarterback when it comes to the offense. And here comes Shedeur Sanders, who basically ran Colorado's offense. That relationship, if Shedeur even comes close to sniffing the field, is going to be so incredibly toxic. You have the worst two people in the room when it comes to polar opposite personalities of how things should be done. I don't think Shedeur Sanders could have been drafted to a worse team than the Cleveland Browns. Those are my final thoughts. I'm done talking about Shedeur Sanders. As I said on X on Saturday when he got drafted, you know what? I'm happy for him.
Yeah.
It's not go prove people wrong.
No.
No. You're not proving people wrong.
No.
Be humble. Be humble. Dude, you're not legendary. Tim Tebow was legendary at Florida. He was a much better quarterback than you could have ever dreamed to have been at Colorado. Tim Tebow was legendary. And it's funny because when he got the call, the fake call from New Orleans, I believe he said the word legendary on that call or after that call, something like that. I don't think he did when he got the real call from the Browns. And oh, by the way, how thrilled did the Browns front office look? I mean, I've seen golf claps more enthusiastic for a 2-foot puck.
Yeah. I at some point we'll get the whole story about that. It was the oddest weekend. And to your point about the dysfunction of the Browns, which, by the way, starts with the poster child for it, Deshaun Watson, who's still on the roster of this football team by now one of the 5 quarterbacks that they have on the roster. But then the trading away of the opportunity to get Travis Hunter, who was far and away the best player in this draft, in my opinion, anyway. And then they end up doing the 2 quarterbacks in consecutive days, rookie quarterbacks. I mean, what in the wide world of sports is going on? But anyway, great. The Cleveland Browns can have it, and more power to them. Let's see how it all looks moving forward. But
I'm going to make a prediction.
Yeah.
Where Shedeur Sanders walks in once again with his chest puffed out. He's going to peacock, and he's going to turn everybody off in that building. You know what? I can see the first pothole that he steps in already. And he's going to piss off a lot of people in that locker room, and he's really going to piss off the front office. This is my prediction. This will never come out publicly, ever. But this, Shedeur, if you're watching this podcast, promise me you're not going to be so stupid to do what I know you are going to do. Do not make it a competition and have a big loud ass mouth with Dylan Gabriel because he was drafted ahead of you. You are the type of personality that is going to get competitive with him and start saying things that teammates should not say to each other. This isn't one-on-one basketball on the streets of Chicago where you're talking trash. I can see Shedeur Sanders talking trash on the field to Dylan Gabriel if he makes a mistake. That's just how Shedeur Sanders is. He is a trash talker. Could you imagine if he does that with his own teammate because Shedeur is all bent out of shape because Dylan Gabriel was taken ahead of him?
Well,
that's something Shedeur would do. Please, Shedeur, if you know Shedeur Sanders and you are watching this podcast, please send him the clip on what I just said, because this is something he would do. And you think he would piss off people in the locker room? You think he'd piss off the front office? You do not turn this into street ball. You do not start shit talking your own teammates on the field. But that's something Shedeur would do because he's all butthurt that Dylan Gabriel was taken ahead of him.
I think he's got to prove that he can get over that quickly, not be swayed by it. He's got to be quiet. I think, yeah, only because I think he's a smart kid. I really do. I think and the doses of humility are hard to swallow for him, certainly. There is no question about that. You are absolutely right. I can't imagine if there's no humility now, then when?
Right.
Right. I mean, it's now or never. But more important than that is, can you prove that you can just put your head down and go get the tough yards? In other words, in this case, learn the playbook, execute the playbook, learn from others, be a good teammate. Those are the challenges for him.
Bruce, do you think at any point from now until training camp, through training camp, do you think at one time he will walk in with a hat on that says legendary? One of his trademarks. You think that happens? Or do you think all of that stuff gets left in the closet at home? Do you think he walks into training camp or OTAs or rookie camp with a big diamond-encrusted gold chain? Do you think he has any of his legendary stuff, whether it's a hat or a shirt, anywhere near that building?
No, I think, and I'm hoping that.
Yeah. Well, what's your gut tell
Well,
you?
I mean, you asked me the question. I think he understands the challenge that is ahead of him.
I hope.
That's what I think.
I hope for the young man he has learned his lesson, like you. And that's what I put out on X. I hope you have been arrogant in this process, not humble in this process. I hope you've learned something in this process. If you haven't, you will sabotage your career unless you become one of the greatest quarterbacks of all time. And in terms of talent, people will ignore all of the other stuff. I really hope he has learned his lesson. And I hope his dad says the same things that we are talking about right now. Shedeur, you're not your dad. Not in terms of talent, not in terms of the type of player. Your dad could get away with all that stuff. Shedeur, you can't. I really hope the best for him. I do. But no one roots, generally speaking, roots for somebody who completely blows through the stop sign of humility. I hope this is a lesson learned for him, and I want to see him succeed. But if he continues to be the same guy, flashing that watch, you get what you deserve. Coming up after the break, it's going to be the Avs against the Stars tonight. And what was the big difference between Game 3 and Game 4? We'll give you our thoughts next.
Spice up your next night out at Nola Jane and Lodo. Authentic Cajun cuisine like andouille sausage gumbo with dirty rice, crawfish etouffee, as well as 6 different po' boys like soft-shell crab and shrimp. Come in before or after a game at Ball Arena. Host a party or party on their rooftop deck overlooking Market Street during happy hour from 11 a.m. to 5. Plus, Nola Jane caters, delivers, and the kitchen is open late night. Make Nola Jane your new favorite spot to eat, drink, and party like it's Mardi Gras.
Sasquatch and Wildcard Casinos in Blackhawk have another incredible promotion. They'll be giving away a Ford Bronco Raptor or nearly $30,000 in cash the weekend of May 23rd. Get finalist entries from 10 a.m. until midnight during their daily cash drawings every 45 minutes or by redeeming player points. And all daily cash drawings that don't get picked are eligible for a second chance drawing on Wednesdays, and that can turn into extra cash. Sasquatch and Wildcard Casinos, a family-owned casino that treats you like family.
Ever wondered where city and county fleet vehicles go when they retire? Now's your chance to find out and score big. Imagine driving away with a great deal on a reliable vehicle. For over 45 years, Roller Auction has been the trusted source for government fleet vehicles and equipment. Trucks, SUVs, sedans, and more, all selling to the highest bidder. Don't miss out. Visit roller.bid/hot takes to get auction updates today. Your next vehicle could be just a click away.
Everyone has their favorite sports bar. Mine, the Sportsbook Bar and Grill in Highlands Ranch in the DTC. Both locations are everything a sports bar should be. An upscale menu with 12 different burgers, outstanding wings, and my favorite, the Philly cheesesteak egg rolls. They've got every game on the NFL Sunday Ticket, MLB Extra Innings, NHL Center Ice, NBA League Pass, plus soccer, rugby, and UFC. Sportsbook is a hangout bar or great for private parties. The Sportsbook Bar and Grill in Highlands Ranch, the DTC, and coming soon to Parker. They are the sports bar. Welcome back. Hot Takes Goodman and Haertl. Avs on the ice tonight in Dallas for Game 5. Series is tied at 2. Was moving Landeskog, Bruce, from the third line to the second line for Game 4, along with giving him more time on the power play. The biggest reason for the shutout win?
For the shutout win or for the win? I will say, yeah, I would, yeah, no kidding. He was fantastic. I would say 48 would do the trick for me. 48 shots on goal compared to 23. You and I have talked a lot, not just this year, but in years past, about the beautiful finesse game sometimes that the Avs love to play. The perfect pass, the perfect movement, puck to the stick, stick to stick, and ultimately a great shot, and boom, it's fun to watch. It's like watching a beautiful painting come to fruition. But I don't know this. To me, I don't know if they can find 48 shots tonight. I'm sure it'll be a different kind of challenge, but the mentality, I think, has got to be somewhat similar. Throw it at the net. Keep throwing it at the net. They were able to dominate up and down the ice in that game. They were physical. They were fast. They were good defensively. They got a shorthanded goal to start things out, and then a power play goal. They were 1 for 1 on their power play after being 0 for 6 in their power play in Game 3. So I don't know, Eric. We've seen the close games have gone to Dallas. The blowouts have been the Avs. So where does this one fall tonight? But I will say this, and I will defer to you as I always do, as to the particulars of what they need to do. But if you can at least replicate the kind of energy in getting the puck at the net that they did in Game 4, I think their chances are pretty good tonight.
You can argue Landeskog is a big reason why they made that huge jump from Game 3 to Game 4. As you and I talked about, having him in the locker room is a big deal. His presence in the locker room, to me, was just as important, if not more important, than his presence on the ice. Although I'm going to argue against myself right now. Okay? How do you like these numbers? You talked about shot attempts, 48 to 23. When Landeskog has been on the ice in the last 2 games, shots on goal, 21 to 3. 21 to 3.
Yeah.
And shot attempts, it's 46 to 14.
Wow.
Right. Shot attempts and then shots on goal. The one thing that I did find interesting was that the lineup was far more balanced in terms of time on the ice. Druin, by the way, only played 9 minutes as far as forwards go. McKinnon, not surprisingly, had 19 minutes. But he's played well into the mid to high 20s in this series. Only 19 minutes. Maybe the score had something to do with it. I understand that. But when you look at time on ice through all 4 lines, Bruce, pretty balanced. I think every guy probably averaged, ready for this, about 14 minutes of ice time. Just look at the time on the ice. Almost every guy outside of Druin, and I'm only talking about the forwards, and McKinnon were all about 14 minutes. That keeps you fresh as well, where your top line isn't playing crazy amounts of minutes. Like Nichushkin, I think, was at like 17 or 18 minutes. That was it.
I have a question for you, and it falls into the if you had it to do over again. We chatted last week about rolling out Landeskog potentially in game 2, 1 or 2, but game 2, I think there was some conversation about rolling him out in Dallas. Has the narrative on Landeskog in a short amount of time changed from, well, yeah, he's going to provide a great emotional boost to this team, which he still is, make no mistake. But I think now the question is, he makes them a better team, and you just pointed it out.
Yeah.
I mean, he just makes them a better team.
Yes.
It makes me wonder, not even a week later, if Jared Bednar might not have missed the chance to have gotten him on the ice in a game they could have won, game 2. And look, that's looking back in hindsight. I get it, but I just wonder about it now, because at that point we were still talking emotional benefits.
Hold on a second. Let me stop you right there. Okay. Could they have won game 2 in overtime with Landeskog on the bench, on the ice? Is that what you're asking?
Yeah, getting minutes. I mean.
Okay, so I'm going to answer your question. Did they win game 3 in the same situation with Landeskog?
No.
Then
No.
why would we assume they'd win game 2?
Okay, fair. I mean, although they were in positions to win both games.
And with Landeskog on the bench / on the ice, they didn't.
Okay.
Game 3. That's all I would say. Yes, He lengthens your lineup, right?
Right.
He lengthens your lineup. Brock Nelson had the best game he had in the playoffs. Why?
Yeah,
he had Landeskog next to him. Landeskog is more than just a captain, clearly. He's one of the best players on the team,
right,
as well. He does. He is. I've said about Nichushkin, he is the closest guy they have to Landeskog. For Landeskog, the closest guy he has to him is Nichushkin.
Yeah.
Because they do the little things. They hit, can play the PK, they score, they make their teammates better, so on and so forth. You need at least a couple of those guys in your lineup. At least 2 guys like that in your lineup. Last year in the playoffs, they had neither. The year before, they really had neither.
Mm-hmm.
Now they have both. Do I think Landeskog will play on the top line tonight? I don't know. Wouldn't mind seeing it, and that'd be fun to watch. But the question is, I don't know if you put Landeskog on the top line, because you might have to keep shifting your lines, because I don't know if you want to give him that type of ice time. I don't know if they're ready to do that. I think maybe you keep him with Nelson. Don't you think?
Why not, right? I mean, that was a pretty good tandem on the ice. I don't know why you change anything, right?
Remember, going into game 4, I pointed out Bednar saying, I really liked our second line with Nelson, Nichushkin, and Lehkonen. And I said to you, I didn't. I wanted that to be broken up in some way. But my point was, I didn't want Nichushkin and Lehkonen on the same line. I wanted them split up to make another line a little bit stronger. But when you can substitute one of those guys for Landeskog, that's a pretty good luxury, certainly, to have. With that, how are you feeling about the Nuggets taking on the Clippers now that the series is tied at 2-2?
I was surprised by their intestinal fortitude in game 4. Their third quarter was an absolute thing of beauty. They showed up defensively. They did some things that made it difficult for the Clippers, and were very good offensively themselves. So, I mean, they had a lot of things going in a third quarter, building a 22 point lead. Then the fourth quarter,
that same team also blew a 22 point
well,
lead.
yeah, and I was just about to say the frustration of trying not to lose a game, especially in the NBA. You know, you see it in college all the time. Teams get up big and then they try not to lose by lengthening out possessions, which is easier to do with a 30-second clock instead of a 24-second clock. But it was just like playing right into LA's hands. And then they get down by one, and I'm thinking, oh God, this is going to be one of those games that we just shake our heads and roll our eyes at. But to their credit, they stayed in it, made some plays down the stretch, and then, of course, got the shot from Jokic that you probably don't want, even from Nikola Jokic, quite frankly. But you got Gordon on the weak side over there making a great play. It was a phenomenal win for a team that needed to win in that manner. Wish they could have been a little stronger in the fourth quarter, but I'm not going to split hairs. It's 2-2 coming home, and they've got home court advantage in a series that I thought could be teetering on the edge at this particular point.
I just want to point something out very briefly here. We can sit and rail on the NHL with the way they do their playoff seeding, okay? And rightfully so.
Mm-hmm.
If the Avalanche win or the Stars win, they're going to be playing Winnipeg. Absolutely ridiculous. If things play out the way they are right now in the NBA's Western Conference, the number 1 seed, Oklahoma City Thunder, could be playing the number 4 seeded Denver Nuggets, and the 6th-seeded Timberwolves then will play the 7th-seeded Golden State Warriors. Let's not drive an ice pick into the eye of Adam Silver. You're going to be having potentially a 6th seed play a 7th seed in the second round. That's ridiculous too. And that's going to do it for us. Hot Takes, Goodman and Haertl. Enjoy the Avs game tonight. Talk to you tomorrow.